Yep. And if everything went well, we should be live. Hey
I see
everyone.
the
And
see the live thing, so I think we're good.
yeah, I think we're good. Well, welcome to another episode of Everything Outside Code, where I hang out with a fantastic founder and creator, marketing expert, and we just chat about the really hard part of going to market. And today we're going to be talking about revenue ops, or everything that goes from uh, I think that's something to talk about first, which is what revenue ops. But before we get into
Yeah.
that, I have Robert Moseley here with me. Hi, Robert. Thanks for coming
Hey,
on today,
William.
man.
Yeah, that we can make it happen.
Yeah, finally, we got this to happen. So, for anyone listening, feel free to leave comments and we'll take them. This is a hearty conversation, so just jump in at any time. And we're happy to chat about this. But you should leave these conversation understanding again how to turn unstructured data, GTM data that sort of lives everywhere into raw cash. That's how I see this. I'm actually excited for this one because I want to learn how this would work. So over to the man of the moment, Robert.
Yeah, awesome.
How are you
Yeah,
doing?
thanks for
Could you tell us a bit about
yeah,
yourself,
man.
the story, how you got here?
Yeah, for sure. I think there's a little bit of a delay, so sorry if I'm talking over you, but yeah, awesome we can make this happen. We just launched this week, so if I look a little tired, it's a lot of late nights this week. But yeah, so Robert Moseley. I've been in the sales space for about 15 years. I started my career as like an actual engineer. Then like in the sales side, I've been kind of like on the solution engineering side, then like, dabbled in the actual direct sales, like AE side and, built teams, led teams and kind of, was at MoveWorks prior. It's like joined there in like 2020. So like been in AI for like 5 years, which, was like an eternity, which compared
Mhm.
to, like it's just GPT came like 2022 or whatever. Um, but yeah, I mean, I'm always interested in like technical problems and like trying to like solve things. And like being in sales is like a little bit different than being in engineering, right? Because like in sales, it's very much an art form. Like there's not like any like best practice. There's no like objective truth. There's no like, here's how you write a function or like here's how you would write a component. Here's how you would deploy it. It's kind of an art. And a lot of things are like built on foundations from like the 90s and even prior. So you'll hear
Mhm.
things like, MEDDIC sales methodology and like things like that. And like in my experience, like, yeah, I mean, you got to know some of that stuff. Like MEDDIC basically is an acronym that stands for like, metrics, economic buyer, and like a bunch of other stuff that like you should learn throughout a sales process to like figure out if it's going to close or not. But it's not like a process. It's just like a guide for like reps to like figure that out. So, but everybody's selling different stuff. And then there's a bunch of problems within sales as well. Like,
Mhm.
let's say, so, when I was at MoveWorks, right? None of the sellers, none of the AEs in MoveWorks was selling. If anybody's not aware, MoveWorks was like an AI tool, or still is, just got acquired by ServiceNow, but an AI tool for like IT service desks that like automates like chatbot, like automates closure of IT service desk tickets. And so when you're trying to sell to like service desk managers, right, and you have these like AEs who aren't service desk managers, have never been service desk managers, they've been like career
Yeah.
account executives. Like there's this gap, right? There's just like this like uncanny valley aspect, like how can they tell
Yeah.
the story effectively to them? And I think that stuff exists in marketing as well, which is
Mhm.
probably like why you're so successful, right? You think like these
Yeah.
companies that are like, I know you were at like Uniform. I know you did a bunch of work for Cloudinary, and Cloudinary was another tool where like we were selling to developers. None of the account
Mhm.
executives there were developers. Nobody in marketing was a developer either,
Yeah.
right? So we bring people like you in. It's like, well, how do we talk to developers, right? A lot
Mhm.
of companies don't do that. So, anyways, like long story short, I like recognize these gaps and go to market in general, which I think like encompasses marketing and sales and like a bunch of other functions. But it like really comes down to like, do you understand who you're selling to? Do you understand the problems that they have? Do you understand how they buy? So like how to like position your tool for something that they would want to buy. And then like how do you track like the progress of like that sales cycle throughout that? Because like there's a
Yeah.
lot of things like that. So I'll pause for a second, just see if like that makes any
Yeah.
sense to you at all.
That makes a lot of sense. So this is a data problem, if I
Yeah.
get it correctly. Yeah.
Yep.
And what motivated you to want to solve this? And first of all, just coming from an
Yeah.
engineering background, that's pretty interesting. What's the transition like? Because I thought you've
Yeah.
always had some like salesy background primarily,
No.
and not an
Yeah. I started
engineering
off
one.
as a straight up engineer. So this is like back, I'm gonna like date myself here, but like back in the mid late 2000s, I was an engineer. And then
Hmm.
salespeople, they would like bring me onto calls because like we were selling technical products, right?
Hmm.
And they would bring me onto calls, like, oh, here's the guy that like helps build the product. He can answer your questions because I can't, right? And so this is like
Yeah.
I think before like the role of solutions engineers was really a thing, but like it literally became like engineers became salespeople. Um, so I would just like jump on these sales calls. They would bring me in, and yeah, and eventually that became like a career. And I was like, this is more fun than like writing code, at least for me. I still write code all the time, and like I, built the first iteration of this, but
Yeah.
I always enjoyed that. I always enjoyed the human aspect of it, and like seeing like educating people, because that's really what you're doing in sales.
Hmm.
Like you're not selling them. Like the whole concept of like, here, sell me this pencil. Like, yeah, whatever. That's not how sales works. It's more
Yeah.
like here's a problem you have. Let me help you solve it. How does this work? Is it going to integrate with your systems? It's much more complex
Hmm.
than sell me this pencil, especially in like enterprise sales, software sales, things like that.
Yeah. Yeah. There's also the procedural part to it where you have a process. Since I started like dabbling into sales, running a company, I've had to learn things like champions, influencers, hand raisers, close rates,
Hmm.
cycle times, deal times, and just doing
Oh
like
yeah.
this. There's some figuring out the method to the madness. Because before, I think I was a fairly decent salesperson. I've sold my services as a freelancer before,
Yeah.
but now having to sell B2B, there's definitely a method to it. And I guess this is where the data piece you talked about comes
Yeah.
into play. So I'm curious, in your opinion and from your experience, what's the cost of this unstructured data? Data that's siloed in different places and you really cannot make the most of it. Is there a cost to it, or there's just untapped potential
Yeah, I
from
mean,
it?
it's it's
What you
it's
think?
it's opportunity cost, right? I mean, the data is already
Hmm.
there. It's being stored. Storage is super cheap. It's like just sitting there. And like when I mean like unstructured data, it's like this is a phenomenon that's probably like built up in the last like 5 to 10 years, like with the gongs and like other call recorders of the world. Like prior, I mean, like the entire concept of CRMs are built around the fact that like you have a sales call, right? And then you go into a piece of software that's designed for data entry and you input
Hmm.
data from the sales call, and you probably don't know every answer, right? And then like these fields are questions that everybody wants to know. It's like marketing will put stuff in there, right? That you have to fill out.
Hmm.
Sales, of course, will put stuff in there so you can like answer questions about the sales process. CSMs, customer success team, they want to know a bunch of stuff because when the deal closes, they want to know like, well, what did they buy? What are the use cases they care about? So they have a bunch of fields in CRM, and all this burden is like thrown onto the backs of the AE to the point where like the administrative overhead of being like a modern day account executive, like you actually only spend 30% of your time selling, like 70% of your time like doing
People
crap
work.
like that. Yeah, and
Yeah.
like honestly, you suck at it because like you don't understand like what these questions are, why they're there, why you can't move your opportunity into the qualification stage unless like you fill out these
Hmm.
5 fields. You probably don't even know the answers to those 5 fields because you didn't ask the questions, or that would come up later in the sales cycle. It's just a total mess, right? So like
Yeah.
we've built all the structure around it because like all those like metrics you were talking about before, right? Where it's like, MQLs, SQLs, what stage is this in? Like who are your like economic buyers? Who are your champions? Who are your detractors? Like stuff like that. Like it's all like, finger to the air. Like we try to
Hmm.
put science around it, but like the entire weight of all the science and reporting is literally built on like whether a sales rep goes into the CRM and inputs this data and inputs it accurately. And then the other problem
Yeah.
with that is like, what if you have a question that like you're not collecting the data for? And so I always use this example where I was at my previous company before I founded this. I was at Harvey, which is like AI tool for like the legal industry. And there was just like a
Hmm.
simple question where it was like what percent of our pipeline is law firms versus in-house legal teams, right? Like basically the question was like, where should we invest? Like, should we put more marketing budget towards in-house legal teams? There's like different problems than like law firms. They work on different things. So like, where's
Yeah.
our demand coming from? And like, we couldn't answer that because we didn't have a field in Salesforce that said, like a drop down
Hmm.
in-house or law firm. So we had to add that, have the whole sales team, trained on what the field is and why they have to fill it out. And then they have to do it, and we have to trust that they did it accurately. And then like a couple months later, we could build a report on a super, super simple question, right? Just because like how these systems work. And so
Yeah.
like with this like unstructured data, right? Like all the stuff exists somewhere. Like if you're using a call recorder, which basically everybody is nowadays, like you have these call transcripts, just like unstructured conversational data. I like to call it like analog data. Like it's like having a record
Hmm.
versus like a CD. It's like multi-dimensional. There's bits in there for product, there's bits in there for customer success, there's bits in there for sales, there's bits in there for content marketing. There's, like these conversations are like really, really rich in data, and they're kind of just sitting there on a hard drive, like not being utilized. Like some of the call recorders will put some like coaching stuff in there, but like totally undervaluing like the value of this data. And then there's like the
Yeah.
emails that go back and forth. There's the internal conversations. There's like external conversations in Slack or like whatever. So, super roundabout way of like answering your super simple question, and I realize that. But basically,
Yeah.
like what our platform does is we centralize, like we integrate with all these systems of record, right? The Gongs of the world, the HubSpots, the Salesforces, the Google Calendars, Gmails, Slacks, like whatever. Aggregate all this data, and then we just like assign associations to it. So it's like this call belongs to this opportunity and this contact and this account, something like that,
Yeah.
right? Um,
Hmm.
so when
So
we when we
this
can,
is what GTM Engine does.
yeah,
Because I was going to get to
exactly,
that.
yeah,
What
yeah.
GTM Engine does.
So we do that, and I mean, that's part of it. And then there's like all the
Hmm.
structure on top of that, right? So you think of like all the stuff that an AE would typically have to fill out and all the reports that are there. Like we automatically fill that
Hmm.
out. We can backfill it, and then you can add any field in the future, like I was talking about before. And we'll backfill that because like we have the historical unstructured data. So if you have a question now, but you weren't tracking that field before, like the process of like putting another straw on the camel's back of an
Hmm.
AE of yet another field that they have to fill out, like that's gone. You just like go into our tool, you put in the field. It's kind of cursor for like, sales, if you want to think of it that way, where it's like, hey, I want to build this report. Here's the field I want. And it goes in, like it fetches the
Yeah.
data and populates that field for every single opportunity where we have data. And then you can build your report, and it's trustable and it's like
Yeah.
objective because it's based on conversational data, not somebody's opinion or like whatever that might be.
Hmm. I guess also something that this solves is data from the past, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I can imagine the instance you used before where you use a CRM, a traditional CRM, you need a new data field, or you need like a new data point. You introduce a data field, now you have to wait, and then it's point in time,
Yeah.
starting from when you
Mm-hmm.
introduce the field and start collecting the data up until maybe the next 3 months when you have enough sample size to make sense of the data. But
Yeah.
with a
Yeah.
modern tool like GTM Engine, you could wake up one morning, think about like a metric that you need to track. The data is already there. You just need to go look now.
Yep. Yep. Exactly.
Uh,
You need to turn that like
yeah.
unstructured data into structured data. And so I mean,
Hmm.
there's like two. You'll see a lot of like I call it like vibes based reporting tools out there where it's like I can go to a chat bot and I can say like, what percent of my whatever mentioned this, like that it'll give you an answer,
Hmm.
but that doesn't actually work. So like traditional reporting
Yeah.
works. Like you need structured data. This is like one of the other like just like going into like the engineering side of this. Like another big problem that we solved is like LLMs, like they generate text. So like
Yeah.
the vast majority of interfaces that you see, 99.9% of them for AI, they're all chatbot based, right? Because like they ingest text and they output text. Now you can like throw in an image and like they can output an image and stuff like that. But like same thing, like you have to like prompt it. Like reporting,
Hmm.
like you can't report on text because it's like unpredictable. It's not structured. Like it doesn't always have like correct typing, right? But let's say I want to build a
Hmm.
report on like my forecast dates across all my opportunities, and I want to see like which forecast dates don't align to like the close dates that the reps have in there. Well, I need a field that's like a date field, right? And I need like this process to turn this unstructured data of like all this conversational data and the progress that we've made and distill
Yeah.
all of this like vast amount of data down to like one single thing that's like a date, and it has to be a type of date because then I can
And
build a
it's
report on
repeatable.
that, right? Yeah,
Yeah. And it has
exactly.
to be
And
predictable, give the
yep,
same result all the
Yeah, or
time.
like imagine like I wanted to build a report on what CRMs are. It's a report that we built. Like what CRMs are our prospects using, right? So Salesforce,
Mhm.
okay, that's one thing. But like some people call it Salesforce with like a lowercase f. Some people call it Salesforce with an uppercase F. Some people call it SFDC, like Salesforce.com, like whatever,
Yeah,
right? There's so many like iterations of that where it's like we try to build reporting on that. Like it's just like it doesn't work. You need it to be consistent. So there's consistent and then there's typing. Like another thing would just be like a Boolean, right? Like a true false,
yeah.
right? Can you get that? Or like a number. Like so one thing that we do
Hmm.
is we do like health scoring. And so to build these reports on like health scores, it has to be like 1 through 10 and it has to be an integer, right? And it has to be of a type of number so I can actually use a reporting tool to like generate a report on that. And then we have to do that across every single opportunity that you've ever had. And that's like
Yeah.
a really hard problem to solve, to take this like vast pool of unstructured data and just distill it down to these like
Mhm.
type safe values that can be reported on. But extremely
Yeah.
valuable.
Yeah. I can imagine. Also, something that just came to mind is how much of your opinion, because I know sales processes, while we have processes, they're largely subjective. No two pipelines for different companies are exactly the same, right?
Yeah.
So, how much of your opinion around what works, what's great, have you fused into this? Because I guess that would also be like some differentiator, right? Rather than
Yeah.
just giving people like the Wild West, like, go do
Yeah.
stuff. Here's the chat box, figure stuff out.
Yeah. Exactly.
How
Oh,
much
there's
of
a
your
ton of
opinion goes into this?
there's a ton of structure around it. So I mean there's methodologies out there. Like everybody already has, like if you have a CRM, you have like sales stages, for instance. Like I think sales
Mhm.
stages are like, bullshit. Like they're like the sales process doesn't fit neatly into these like discrete like quanta of like stages. It's more of like a spectrum, right? Like where are they? Like sometimes you move backwards, sometimes you move forward. Like deals are complex. But there are some best
Mhm.
practices there, right? It's like everybody has like a general sales process. So for instance, for us, it's like we'll do what we call a new business meeting, right? Where we present, we do a demo. Our next step is to get them to do a proof of concept, which is like we'll connect to their CRM, or they'll just like send us a bunch of transcripts and some like records, like opportunities, and like we'll run the data, and like basically it's like we're playing, like we're like had we been in place for like while this deal was going on, what would it look like, right? So like, compare and contrast like what they have, so like a proof of concept, and then next we want to get into negotiations and then procurement and like all that stuff, right? It's like generally we know that these are the tasks that we have to do to close a deal, and that's like
Mhm.
varies like at every company I've worked at. The sales process, like the milestones are slightly different. We try to like bucket those into things, but like ultimately the buyer drives that process. So I think there's like things that that you need to do that like work well. But like you can close deals without a POC, for instance. Like you can close deals actually without even going through procurement. Like I've done that where
Without
it's like,
even a
how much
proposal.
is this? Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Like like
Yeah.
procurement, it's like
Send
no,
us
like
an invoice.
yeah, here's our credit card. We want to get started,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
no matter what, like ultimately it's the customer that drives that. And I don't think there's enough recognition. Like there's so much like effort and like weight put on the sales side into like putting this like rigorous process and like trying to like, it's all performative, but like trying to like make things more complex and like scientific than they really are. And like it
Mhm.
confuses people. Like you come in and you like put a process in place and you're like, here's our stages, here's our entry and exit criteria, and this is what you have to do here. And now we have this meeting. It's called a go no go, and you got to like get your champions in a room, and you got to say, are you going to buy this or not? And then only then can you move on to the next stage. You're like, well, wait a minute, like that's not how they
Mhm.
buy, right? Like they don't
Yeah.
want to do that. I don't want to do that. That's not like optimal. Um, so like basically like the system is designed so like you can put your milestones in there and like we'll accommodate your stages, and but like it's also contextual based on like all the understanding of these conversations, the emails, the transcripts that have gone back and forth. Like what do you
Mhm.
need to do, right? Because like there's no thing in your sales process that says, oh William, like you need to show this to like my CEO, right? He needs to see this before we can buy. I know like you're just about to send me a contract, but we actually got to go back and you got to like show this to him because he's the one that ultimately signs this. And I just realized he doesn't even know I'm looking at this thing,
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, okay, now we got to like go back to like step one. That's not written into your sales process. It's like we
Yeah.
have to like guide AEs like this is the thing that you have to do.
Yeah. I can imagine that these processes also were built because outcomes, measurable outcomes, right? So
Okay.
sales teams want to have predictable outcomes, and they want to be able to say, here's what pipeline performance looks like, right? From stage to stage, here's what drop off in the pipeline looks
Yeah.
like. But then sales doesn't happen that way. And there has to be some way to track these, varying stages, right?
Yeah.
These subjective stages. Um, I'm curious. I want to see what GTM engine looks like. Could you give us a demo, like
Yeah.
a quick demo of how? I'm hoping to see like
Um,
data flowing in from like 55 billion sources, and then
yeah.
I get
Wait.
to
It's
contact
not quite that
Sean.
many sources.
Sean is going to buy. Call him ASAP.
All right, let me see if I can figure this out.
Demos never work, so that's totally fine if it doesn't come up.
Can you see my screen?
Yeah, I need to put this on stage. Yeah, I see it. I see it now.
Okay, cool. So our system, I may actually start because this is like more of like a technical sort of thing. But so if I'm a RevOps person, like I come in, I just connect our systems, right? So
Hmm.
like we use HubSpot. You connect this. What we do is then we'll pull in all your fields and you just map these. It sets up a two-way sync. And there's like a
Hmm.
few different type of field types. There's like the standard CRM fields, and like these are the fields that are like we're not going to fill out. Like who's the owner? What is the name of the account? Their domain. This is kind of like more static data. Then there's the AI fields, and this is where you can create custom fields, right? This is like the stuff that we are going to fill out. We can fill out any field you want. Like we could fill out the name, we could fill out the owner if you wanted us to, but you can build
Yeah.
anything custom here. And then there's another field type called analysis field. So like think of this as like a pyramid, where the foundation is the unstructured data, and that comes from like integrations with like Slack, call recorder, and then of course like email and calendar, which is like on the profile. But
Hmm.
we ingest all this data, we connect it with the objects in the record IDs. And then we have this unstructured data, which is like really the foundation of our entire system. And then there's these AI fields. So think of like each of these fields as like an agent. That's like your job right here is you just analyze any mention of competitors in the context under which competitors are mentioned, right? That's
Yeah.
it. So anytime we get a new email, anytime we get a new call, anytime there's a new like message that comes in, like whatever, like
It's
analyze
listening.
that and figure out like, yeah, do we need to update our understanding of the competitors that are currently involved in this deal cycle, right? Another one is like important people mentioned, but not they haven't participated. So it's like oftentimes when you're in sales, it's like, yeah, I gotta show this to Frank, like whatever. So like pick up like, okay, there's this Frank guy that is somehow involved in this deal, and it'll pick up context clues. And again, like this just
Hmm.
reevaluates with every single touch point. So then there's this like higher order field, which is called an analysis field. So think of like this analyzes everything. So it's like all this stuff, the buying process, the competitors, the deal participants, the standard fields, the unstructured data. It's just like, okay, when do you think this is going to close? And so this takes in data from like the configuration where it's like, um, we'll pull in your stages, we'll pull in your stage durations, your entry exit criteria. This stuff gets factored into the close date. Other
Hmm.
stuff that would get factored in the close date, just things that they've said, right? Like, so they might say, like, oh yeah, well, we plan on getting the team together to kick off a pilot in December, right? So if like the sales rep has like a September close date in there, and the customer said, we're going to kick off the pilot in December. Well, the forecast close date like analyzes that data and says like, you're not going to close in September. You're going to close this in probably like
Yeah.
March or something like that, right?
Hmm.
There's deal gaps. This one's super important. This goes into like the meeting prep, which I'll show as well. But like oftentimes, like what like knowing what like so far that's what we've talked about. Like what don't we know, right? So I always like to think of like in a video game, like a map-based video game where like the map is like kind of like blacked out until you like explore around, and then you can like kind of like
And
see where
it
things
opens
are.
up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's like a sales process is kind of like that too. Like you don't know what you don't know.
Hmm.
And then you start like exploring the map and like figuring out like, okay, they said like they use Zip for procurement. Okay. And they said that they need, that typically takes a month and a half to get all the approvals. All right. I got to back in from that. We got to get that process started now if I want to close that this quarter because they said it takes a month and a half. First call,
Yeah.
you probably don't know that. Second call, you might know a little bit about that, but then like you build that up. But like what the deal gaps does is it says like, hey, here's what we don't know. Like, we don't know how long it takes them to do procurement. We don't know what their process is like. We don't know the people that are involved in that. So anyways, there's like all this configuration that happens. All the other stuff is automated. It's like, we'll pull in, we'll set up these two-way syncs. We'll pull in all your call data. We'll pull in all your emails and calendar events and like do all that automatically. And what's super cool about that, we also create the records too. So like since you're on my calendar here, like we pulled this in, right? So I have you as an account. I have you, and Equesti is contacts, or Vivian. I think like this was this because she was just on like the email, I believe, that we just had.
Oh yeah,
going back and forth, right? So it sees like, okay, here's who involved, and it goes out and it says, okay,
how do you enrich the
who
data?
is this? Yeah, so it's a really complex process, but
because I'm like, the calendar doesn't say much. The calendar just has like a name and an email, and that's
that's it. Yeah, just email, right? It's like starting from email. It's like, okay, well, what can we know about you, right, from an email? So there's like the traditional like enrichment vendors, and so we have integration with like a bunch of different enrichment vendors, just to say like, who knows anything about William, right? Like what's his title, what company is he at? Here's just the email, give me everything you know about this email. That's usually not enough, right? It's just like firmographic data, like technographic data sometimes. But you can do like, if I was going to search, if I just saw your email pop up, like I might do something like, LinkedIn, I might do a search like that, right? Okay, so now I find your LinkedIn profile, and then I can, look through this, and I can like scrape this, right? Like look at like, this is what I would do if I was just like going to like jump on a sales call with you. Think about like we're automating that process as well. So we'll find your LinkedIn URL, and then we'll scrape it, and then we'll start to extract things, right? It's like, what do you care about? Personal insights, previous companies that you've worked at, use for our product. So it's like synthesizing your background. It's trying to figure out like what you do. So you probably have challenges around generating predictable revenue for a B2B technical content marketing company, managing complex sales cycles, technical decision makers, tracking forecasting pipeline performance. And so how does our value prop align to you? So imagine, remember earlier we were talking about like salespeople typically aren't like practitioners. So like, how does our product align to this particular person that we're talking to? This does it for you. Like, you don't have to be a practitioner. Like, we'll understand your tool. We'll understand who it is that you're talking to, and we'll make that connection for you. Even like put together like potential objections and stuff.
Yeah, it is pretty accurate. I can tell you for sure. Just analyzing it off my own experience, or personal experience.
Yeah. So this is like, there is no opportunity here. Like, we haven't talked yet. So then we get into the part where it's like we actually are talking. So like what happens is like we use Gong. So after we have our first call, there may or may not be an opportunity in the CRM. So we might not have an opportunity in here. If there isn't one, we create it and we populate it with data, and then we put it in what's called like a proto stage, which is like a non-pipeline stage, and like reach out to the rep on Slack and say like, hey, you just had this call. I created the opportunity for you. Let me know if you want to qualify this or not. Here's how it went. But I'm just going to create one here. Again, normally this just all happens automatically. I'll put in an amount there. I won't charge you $25,000 to get the friends and family discount. Put in like a close date, which like usually is just like a total guess by the rep, right? Like they have no idea when they're creating this opportunity, like when it's going to close. So now we should have an opportunity somewhere in here. Let's see. Forgot where I put it. Is there a Hackmamba? Let's see it. Anyways, well, there should have been one. But in any case, like then what we'll do is like we'll go through and then we'll start to like analyze. Let me just grab one that like has no score or something like that, like this one. It's going to be called something completely different. but since like creating an opportunity from scratch there didn't work, I'm gonna add you here as a contact. And so another thing that I did is I created a fake call transcript between us. And this like looks very much like what we get from Gong, right? So this is just like role playing like a fake call that we had. So what I can do is like this activity normally would get added manually. So like think like the rep doesn't have to do anything. The call ends, we ingest that data, we do the associations, we do the processing. You can also manually add things, and like for demo purposes, we have to do that. But then what happens here is like, not only are we going to process the opportunity itself and update like all of these fields and any custom field that you want, right? And sync that back to the CRM, and you can add these fields at any time. We're also going to like run this against like the contacts that were involved. So like in a deal cycle, you mentioned it earlier, there's like, your champions, there's your detractors, your promoters, there's your economic buyers, there's your business user, there's, the technical valid, like whatever. Bunch of nonsense, right? But like it's useful for reporting. Nobody ever fills it out, but like we'll do that. It's like we're processing all this data, not only at the opportunity level, but at the contact level. It's like, what are your personal motivations? Like, what do you care about? And so like, this is what I mean. Like take this like unstructured data. It's like, it's multi-dimensional. Like there's lots of information in here besides just like, usually these tools just give you like a summary, like, hey, here's how your call went, here are next steps. It's like, okay, but what else is in there? There's like rich data in there. Makes sense so far?
This is all stuff I currently do manually. Like I have like a sales strategy document where I've outlined like our buyers and champions, what they care about, who they are, where they like to hang out, what helps them get promoted, all that stuff, like all that information. But it's very generic to the role and not to the person. And before a call, I just go over like their role and do some like manual research. This takes around like 30 minutes ish to just find what I can, get in the call, and then try to listen as much as possible. And then learn from what they say and update like what I know. But then what I know so far, I don't put anywhere. I just realized. I only put,
right?
It's just in my head. I only put the outcome of the call in our CRM.
I mean, you're a true salesperson then, because it's like salespeople, like it's all in their head, and like some of the best salespeople I've ever worked with are the absolute worst at putting like logging shit into CRM. Like it's usually like there's a high correlation between like being really good at sales and not doing the bullshit. Because like if I'm a high performer, right, if I'm hitting 150% of my number, like whatever, like I'm not gonna waste. What are they gonna do? Fire me? I'm like bringing in a ton of money into the company. I don't want to do that stuff. It doesn't help me. Like, what do I have to do that for? So there is a high correlation between your top performers and like not putting in data. But the thing is like that's very telling, because like if you're only hitting 50% of your number, you can't lean on the fact that like, yes, but I'm like very good at putting the data in the CRM. It's like, guess what? They're still gonna fire you. Right? This is like why I think like AI is like perfect for this type of thing, because it's like salespeople don't want to do it. We're actually gonna like, people are worried about AI taking over jobs. Like if anything, this is gonna like help people keep jobs, right? Like it's like removing the work, letting them like do their actual job function more and better. And just like automating away like the busy work, and like this has knock-on effects all the way upstream as well, which I'll talk about, but.
I use Bubbles. I use Bubbles as I use Bubbles as a call recorder and Pipedrive as the CRM. But so after every call, I take like the Bubbles transcript and I just paste it in the CRM. But it's just to notify whoever comes next, so they know what to look at. It's not like I pull data from there to make certain decisions. It's almost like Pipedrive isn't intelligent. But then you mentioned the data from the conversation is extracted from GTM Engine into the CRM. Why isn't this the CRM as well?
So I mean, like you would be in here. You can look at stuff. Like I think like another thing that we're doing too is like rethinking, like what do CRMs look like, right? So if you look at an opportunity in Salesforce or Pipedrive or like HubSpot, you're going to see a ton of different fields, right? because like those systems are, again, like they're designed for you to go in there after you have a touch point and like manually input data. If we're doing all that like data entry stuff, like the CRM, like the interface itself isn't like, it's no longer about data entry. It's about understanding, right? And like sales doesn't happen like, you know, AEs aren't like lone wolves. There's a whole support structure around them. So like me coming up like first in like the solutions engineering space, like I'd get pulled into deals like, hey, I need you to do a demo for these guys. Cool. Who is it? Like, what do they care about? What should I show? Like where is this deal? Is there anything I need to be aware of? Like, are they, you know, are they looking at competitors? Should I focus? Like, they'd have zero context going into these demos, and that's obviously not ideal, right? Like, I couldn't do my best work because I didn't have this context. So with a system like this, you come in and it's like, okay, who's who? Okay, I can see Williams right here. He's the economic decision maker. His ICP profile is executive leadership. He has a promoter score of 7. This number goes from -10 to +10. And we also give an analysis for this, is like why it's a 7. And then of course you can like see as it changes. So the other cool thing about this, just like backing up a little bit, is, you know, you sell to people, you don't sell to organizations. People buy your software because it solves problems that they are having or their team is having, right?
Yeah.
So even just like tracking an opportunity just at the opportunity level, like isn't really ideal. Like you also need to know like who are all the individuals that are involved in this entire buying process, right? What are their motivations personally, right? What are their own personal blockers and challenges that they're going to have in getting
Yeah.
this? So like now you have this like understanding of like the individuals that are involved in this deal cycle, and this information is available to everybody. And not just the salesperson. It's not just like in your head, right? Like you're doing right now. It's not just in your head or like in your note taker or something like that. Everybody can come in here and see exactly what happens. The other cool thing is like this moves to closed won, right? Well, now the CSMs,
Yeah.
they have full context. We could generate like a report that's like, hey, you know, here's who's who. Here's the first use cases they want to implement. Here's what they care about. Here's their systems you're gonna have to integrate with, or like whatever, you know, matters to you. Like we're tracking all
Yeah.
that automatically. So it becomes like a much more like a rethought like CRM. It's no longer about entry. It's about like understanding.
Can I get a Kanban board where I can just move stuff? I think if once there's that, then I can ditch every other thing. Well, yeah,
Yeah.
this works as a CRM. Then I can just drag and drop stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So you can drag and drop stuff. If you do want to manually update things in bulk, you can look at like the table view here. You can click through and you can say, okay, I want to update like the amount on this one. I can click on this. I can update the amount. All right, now I want to update the stage on this one. I can do that. There's a lot of stuff there. There's also this like AE dashboard. Like, so this is like, okay, so if a salesperson no longer has to like prep for their meetings, like go out and like search the web and like do all this research before meetings, they no longer have to update the CRM. They no longer have to worry about follow-ups because like we create these tasks every time that there's a meeting to like follow up with a follow-up email that they can use. And we don't dismiss this task until you actually do it. Same thing with like emails. Like let's say an email comes in overnight, like it's associated with an opportunity, and 10 emails come in after that. Like what we're doing is like we're picking out the emails from your inbox that are associated with opportunities and that require responses, and we're putting this in your core like auto task creation system. It's like you as a rep, you always know like what are your burning things that you have to do like right now.
This is amazing. Thanks for the demo. I'm curious, when does this become important for sales teams, right? So this is revenue ops, right? When does rev ops become important for startups or scale-ups?
I mean, honestly, like right from the beginning, like you got to get the foundation right. I think like there's like we're seeing adoption from everywhere from like founder-led sales teams, like yourself, where it's like you have a million things to do, and like you're not going to be able to run like a true sales cycle and like give it all the effort that like a dedicated salesperson would do. So if you can like offload like a lot of that work and just like our system do that, right? It's much more smooth. You're going to do that much better. That applies, of course, to salespeople too. But then like medium sized, like you're growing, right? You have like more touch points, you have more channels that you're like marketing to. There's all this data flowing in. You got to make sense of it.
Also volume.
There's a lot of like, yep, exactly. And then like honestly, like really like big orgs, tend to be like more archaic and process oriented. And this can help with that too. And like people that have had like 20-year implementations of Salesforce, like they're all a mess. Like they're all a mess.
Yeah.
Like there's duplicate records everywhere. Like there's contacts that like aren't associated with accounts. There's deals that aren't associated with accounts. Like don't even have owners. It's just like it's the Wild West, right? Because people are supposed to create these things and like they don't care about like associations and like all this stuff. So like I don't know. Like honestly, I think you got to get that right from the beginning.
Yeah. So that's cool. That makes sense. And I guess with what you've built, right, this is only possible because of the advancements in artificial intelligence today.
Yeah.
Right. So what's been possible? What's changed that has helped you be able to deliver this? And how do you see CRMs? I think we've touched on this a bit, but how do you see CRMs evolving now that we have all these capabilities available to us?
Yeah. Yeah, to answer your first question, I mean, like AI, like LLMs in particular, are really, really good at like needle in a haystack type problems, right? And they're really, really good at reasoning. And like sales problems are like both of those, right? Within this entire sales conversation, where was it that they mentioned like this thing, right? And like you'll see, like I've been in sales long enough where it's like I'm like, oh man, what did that guy say? And I got to go into Gong and I got to like watch the whole call and like try to like scroll to the right section of the call where they said that thing so I can like remember because I didn't write it down because I was busy demoing or whatever. Something like this, like AI can like pick that out like right away, right? It's super, super good at that. They can do that in seconds. And then it's really good at reasoning, right? Like, what does that mean in the context of everything else? Like, it's not just like extracting data, but it's contextualizing that data. You know, they mentioned this. Oh, but earlier they mentioned they're talking to this competitor. So they mentioned this use case and they mentioned this competitor. Okay, now we got to look and see like how does this competitor compare to us for that particular use case? Because that seems important, right? So really, really good at both those things. So it's like opened up a whole world of possibility. Like honestly, like we're just scratching the surface. There's like so much that we can build on top of this. That's just like it's exciting and like a little overwhelming. To answer your second question, like CRMs, like I don't know, like that's just they're not going to exist in the state that they are today because like that's just irrelevant now. Like an interface that a person does manual data entry, like that's crazy. You know, it's just that's not going to be how we do things anymore. And I mean, like the technology's already there. Like we're just starting to build this like first generation of like I'd say like AI native CRMs. Like we're not a CRM. Like we're definitely like the plug into CRMs because they do have this like rich integration ecosystem. You know, you'll have all these other things that are driven off CRM data. That, but if like we can plug into the CRM and like automate all that process, like all these other knock-on systems that are integrated in the CRM become better as well, which is like another huge benefit. But yeah, I mean, maybe that's what they evolve to. It's just kind of like these like integrations platforms. I don't know.
Yeah. To be honest, from what I've seen, from what you just showed me, I just need a API integration to send you all the data I have. I have a Kanban board with fields I could manually input stuff as well. I don't need a CRM. From my use case currently, I don't need a CRM. Neither do the other salespeople on the team. Because so far it's just data entry, putting in stuff and having some place to track things. You could do what we do already in like a Google Sheet. So and it's just been tracking the pipeline and having some dedicated place to say like, hey, here's where our sales pipeline lives. But so far, at least with Pipedrive, and this is not me shitting on them, they're a huge product because for a reason, but it just doesn't feel intelligent enough, at least for today. Maybe they're going to ship stuff that changes everything, but I still have to do like a lot of manual menial labor there. Final question I want to ask, and to close, I see we're coming up on time, is usually after sales happens, that's it, peace. Customer success, go figure out your stuff, right? But personally, I care about retention a lot, sometimes even a lot more than acquisition. And customer success plays a huge part in that, right? So how do you see something like GTM Engine serving not just pre-sales, but also post and connecting the data from customer success conversations and implementation just to make sure, churn rates are not going off the charts, but also just informing what that looks like. So more predictability and in that regards. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, it's two sides of the same coin. You can set it up already, right? I mean, it's just a different pipeline. It's like, I would call it like the renewals pipeline or whatever, but you're tracking different, you're not tracking opportunity health and like when it's going to close. You're tracking things like customer health and churn risk, and you're tracking like upsell opportunities. Like, hey, they emailed us, or like, the CSM had their like monthly or quarterly conversation, whatever, and they mentioned these things, and it can flag and it could say like, hey, they mentioned these things that could be upsell opportunities. You bring in the AE, they could create like another, opportunity for like an upsell, right? So it's the same, like I said, like two sides of the same coin. And there's a lot in here for marketing too. Like before, remember, like we were getting your profile, and then we were tracking like a promoter score, right?
Yeah.
We can sync that back to the CRM or whatever. You can like build a report that's like, hand it to marketing. It's like, hey, marketing, here's all of our strongest champions, like our 8s, 9s, and 10s, strongest promoters. Here's their ICP profile, right? And then here's why they're strong promoters, the use cases they care about. Imagine marketing had something like that. They didn't just have to go like, hey, sales, is there anybody I can talk to? Like who would, it's just like right there. It's like, here are the things, here are the people that care, what they care about, and like why they care. They just makes things so much better.
Yeah. That's great. I think that's something a lot of teams overlook is, like you say, like upsell opportunities, because most times the folks that could do the selling, or they sit far away from folks that actually listen to the problems, which are like CSMs and customer success.
So like one more anecdote there. Like when I was at MoveWorks, we didn't really get any inbound at all. And it's like all of our meetings came from our SDR team. So like, and MoveWorks was just acquired for like $3 billion from like ServiceNow. So like, obviously like we were able to close business and like there was product market fit, but like marketing didn't find it. It's like we had this big marketing campaign called Worktopia, right? Where it's like, hey, we'll make work easier. But the SDR team they're scrappy, right? We had this like tool called an AI assessment where like the IT teams would send us like a year of their ticket data, and we'd analyze it and build this like awesome like 20-page report that's like, here's the distribution of the ticket types you get, and like here's how long they take to resolve, and then here's the ones that we could resolve, and like here's what that would look like afterwards. It's kind of like the simulation thing. And so SDRs would just be like, hey, we have this process where we can ingest your ticket data. It takes you like half hour to do the export. Here's the report you'll get. Do you want to take a meeting? They booked a ton of meetings, right? Marketing's talking about Worktopia. SDRs actually understood the ICPs, right? They understood like what they cared about and like the results that they were hoping for. So that worked really well. And so I think like with a tool like this, it's like telling you, hey, here's your ICPs, they're strong champions. Here's why they're strong champions. Now marketing has this like amazing tool in their hands that like now they know how to talk to their ICPs, right? Doesn't exist anywhere else.
Yeah, that's right. That makes sense. Well, we've gone way above time, but thank you so much, Rob. This has been fantastic.
Thanks for reaching out.
You've had a wonderful lunch. I'm looking forward to what happens next. I'm going to find time to set up a chat because I need to get like shopping. I need to get our GTM sharpened up. We're planning a couple of sales campaigns, so I think this will come in handy. Also because like I don't feel like I could get my hands on a Lamborghini, and I'm still trying to use like a Toyota Yaris.
Yeah, dude, this is like jumping into a Waymo. That's you jump into the Waymo.
And it just does stuff. Well, thank you so much for coming, and thanks to everyone that's listening to this. Awesome. And that's today's episode of Everything Outside Code. Cheers. Okay.